Hello there, I'm Lloyd Evans. Welcome to the bunker. It's time for another voicemail. Today's voicemail is from an anonymous caller. Let's listen to what they have to say.
Hi, Lloyd. I just got done watching your video about how to get into activism. I think you raised some really good points, but I had some more thoughts I wanted to share. If this is a valuable voicemail, you can play it on your YouTube channel. That's fine with me. The main thing I wanted to say is that our stories of being in Jehovah's Witnesses and leaving Jehovah's Witnesses are extremely valuable, and we don't have to, get into this huge activism, starting a YouTube channel, starting a website, all this stuff. Just sharing your stories in itself helps. Every person who does it little by little helps change the public perception of Jehovah's Witnesses and might happen to reach somebody in Jehovah's Witnesses and help them get out. I've seen people post like reviews for their Kingdom Hall. A couple Kingdom Halls I attended, I went and, kind of talked about my experiences in that hall, to put that out there. On social media, I talk about, what I think about witnesses and why. When I do run into Jehovah's Witnesses on social media, I'm not afraid to call them out for, their lies. And, that's just such a very small form of activism that anyone can do, or even if you see someone else, calling out a Jehovah's Witness, give them a like or a thumbs up or I don't really know how Twitter works, but whatever social media platform you're on, give them an upvote for it. And just talking to people, I got a tattoo and I told the tattoo artist about, my life as a Jehovah's Witness, and she was kind of shocked about it. There's just sharing your story with people and just not being afraid to speak up and say, hey, no, that's not true. Jehovah's Witnesses are actually like this. It's a small thing to do, but I think that in itself is a big help to activism, honestly. And if you do that a lot, and for a while I thought I wanted to be like I kind of wanted to be like you sometimes, but like an actual activist, but I've decided that's not for me. But I still, in little ways where I can, still share my story to hopefully try to help people.
Well, thank you for that comment. Not really a question, but I wholeheartedly agree, hence why I've played it. I think I think you make some very good points that perhaps people don't think about enough. So, ways of doing activism, I think when people think of ex-Jehovah's Witness activism, you're right, they tend to just think about YouTube, don't they? Or maintaining websites and blogs and that kind of thing. But it doesn't have to be that complicated. It could just be something as simple as, like you say, speaking to your tattoo artist or maybe your hairdresser, getting into conversations with people. You mention posting reviews on, I assume, Google reviews for Kingdom Halls. I think that's actually a really interesting strategy, I can imagine people going a bit too far in what they say. I would like to see Google reviews that will make Jehovah's Witnesses think, rather than recoil and think, oh, this is just a hateful apostate and they're spewing lies. Because I've actually left, I think, 1 or 2 Google reviews myself. I'm not sure whether they actually stayed up or not. For Kingdom Halls I've attended. Just couldn't resist it, because that's what the Google reviews are for, isn't it? If you've had an experience attending a given congregation, you should be able to say on Google, I've had a bad experience. You want to be careful going here, So yeah, I've even done that. And maybe I could have been more diplomatic. I think it's easy to go a little bit too far, I think that sometimes a less is more approach yields results. Sometimes when you show restraint in your words, when you show the person that, hey, I feel really strongly about this issue, but I'm reining in my words and I'm showing that I'm calm and in control and not just ranting, I think words can have more weight in that context. And with that in mind, I would urge restraint when leaving reviews. I think, again, excellent strategy, and thank you for recommending it. But I can foresee it backfiring a little bit, if that makes sense. I can foresee like 1-star reviews, and that, believe me, they deserve 1-star reviews. But I can imagine 1-star reviews that are just so vehement and so not pulling their punches that a Jehovah's Witness wouldn't have anything to go away and think about. It would be much, much better to be able to sow some seeds, wouldn't it? And I think a similar strategy could be used when interacting on social media, perhaps through Twitter, because you mentioned running into Jehovah's Witnesses on social media and calling them out for their lies. Here again is where I think a less is more restraint approach could yield more results. And don't get me wrong, I get it. You know, when we're suffering on a daily basis due to the lies and manipulation of Jehovah's Witnesses, due to perhaps the shunning, it's really easy, isn't it, to just let rip and, like you say, call someone out. But I think it's possible to call someone out in a way that's thought-provoking and a way that's engaging and a way that isn't so easy to dismiss as just hateful vitriol from a disgruntled former member. If you can strike that balance of calling a spade and, you know, saying, well, this just isn't true. This thing that you're teaching on this particular issue, let's say someone's talking about how COVID is a sign of the last days, or someone is saying that Jehovah's Witnesses don't have a problem with child sexual abuse. I think it's possible to, like you say, call out those lies, but do so in a way that is not so easily dismissed as just angry ramblings or the rantings of a disgruntled former member. Easy to say, isn't it, when it's not the heat of the moment and you see a tweet or something and you're like, oh, I've got to reply to that. But yeah, I think that I've long said that almost anyone can do activism, but I just happen to think, and I know I'm not alone in thinking this, I just happen to think that there are positive, effective, constructive ways of approaching activism, and there are ways of approaching activism that are less constructive and less positive, and possibly even, dare I say, in some instances, counterproductive. We've got to remember these are cult victims. They are not in full control of their thinking abilities. They have had their minds and their lives and their emotions and their relationships hijacked. And what they are saying is not necessarily what their authentic selves would say. So I cannot stress enough the importance of just lavishing people in those situations with as much kindness and understanding and patience as we can possibly muster. But with all of that said, you are absolutely on the nose. You are absolutely correct in saying that anyone can do activism. That's not to say necessarily everyone should do activism. As I've said before, just making it out of the cult with your with your brain in one piece, with your life salvageable, is an achievement, and you deserve a medal. And maybe if you can do a little bit of activism, that's brilliant, but that's just a bonus, you know? And you've identified very helpfully some excellent ways of doing activism that don't involve putting yourself out there on YouTube, brilliant though that is when people can do that, or writing blog articles, books, websites, you name it. You've given just a few excellent examples of how we can get the message out. And if you have hundreds or thousands, or dare I say, tens of thousands doing this all over the world, bear in mind many people who watch my channel have never even been Jehovah's Witnesses. They just sympathize with the plight of former Jehovah's Witnesses. They can see how very, very wrong this is. They're appalled that society in general is just turning a blind eye. These people too can act as allies and can help and can have those conversations with their barbers or their tattoo artists. They can help spread the word. You don't have to be a former Jehovah's Witness or, a former cult victim, whatever you want to call it, in order to be an activist. You can still be involved. You can still help out as an ally, as someone who just has compassion and empathy for what's happening and for the abuse that's being inflicted on people's lives. So again, brilliant message. Thank you so much for sharing it, and I wholeheartedly agree with your recommendations. If you would like to leave a message, the thing to do is go to speakpipe.com/Cedars, remembering to indicate clearly if you don't want me to broadcast your message on this channel. But that's all we have time for. Thank you so much for watching.